pull out weeks ago if I was going to pull out, you know. I've fought many times with injuries, as you know. I've fought with injured shoulder before, broken hand, broken ribs.
Daniel was ill. He looked incredible. I hear I wasn't here in training last night. So that's strange. He's ill. He can't fight if he's ill. Okay, health has to come.
Dillian Whyte has officially called it quits, announcing his retirement just weeks before his scheduled clash with rising star Moses Itauma. Citing financial strain and uncertainty with his management, Whyte pulled out, stunning fans across the boxing world. For a veteran heavyweight known for taking on tough challenges, walking away now felt less like a choice and more like surrender. The timing couldn't be more suspicious.
I pulled out 3-4 weeks ago when I knew that obviously the manager position was going to be in place. You know, obviously my camps cost a lot of money. My training camps cost me a lot of money, you know what I mean? So I had to just pull out early to save all of this and money and stuff. I got like a lot of people in camp that works.
Eddie Hearn wasn't buying it. In fact, he didn't even try to hide the sarcasm. To him, Whyte's retirement sounded more like a bargaining chip than a farewell. A last-ditch stunt to squeeze a payday down the line rather than face Moses Itauma in the ring like a man. In Hearn's eyes, Whyte didn't retire, he ran. And the fans know it.
Fight fans, because we've got a chance to make the biggest fight in boxing, but you know, if that is the last we see of him, he's had a great career. I doubt it, but you know, it's always best to come into retirement to make sure someone pays you to come out of retirement. But if that's his lot, much respect to him.
And Hearn kept swinging. This time, straight at Whyte's pride. He didn't sugarcoat it. Whyte isn't stepping away on his terms. His body's giving up on him. The chin's gone. The speed's gone. The fire's gone. Whyte didn't retire, he got exposed. And rather than stand across from a young killer like Itauma, he disappeared. This wasn't a retirement. It was an exit strategy. A silent white flag waved by a fighter who knew he wouldn't survive the next test.
Time to retire when your physicalities change. Your punch resistance isn't as good. You know, maybe you're a bit slower. Maybe your desire's not there. We're not saying.
Johnny Nelson called it straight. Dillian Whyte's so-called retirement isn't about emotion. It's about money. Nelson says Hearn saw it coming, a fake farewell cooked up to inflate the next paycheck. Whyte didn't just duck Moses Itauma, he tried to turn his fear into profit. That's not a retirement. That's desperation dressed as strategy. And everyone in the game sees it for what it is.
Actually, Eddie Hearn had kind of called that a couple of weeks before. He said he's probably going to try and retire to bump the purse bid up.
And just when it couldn't get more embarrassing, Carl Froch stepped in with a brutal verdict. Even he couldn't tell if Whyte was running for cash or simply finished. Either way, Froch didn't flinch. This exit stinks of manipulation. Whyte's retreat isn't some noble farewell. It's a PR stunt because he couldn't handle the storm Moses was about to unleash. Froch's tone was clear. This isn't how real fighters go out. It's how they hide.
Simon, I'm not sure if it's genuine. Maybe it is, but I don't know what he's going to do now he's retired. But the fact of the matter is, he's announced his retirement. He's either trying to leverage for more money, putting himself in position, so he's got people begging for him to come out, or he's actually genuinely going to retire. Not sure.
Duke McKenzie didn't just criticize Dillian Whyte, he condemned him. He called the retirement not just unprofessional, but disgraceful. A betrayal. To the sport. To the fans. And to the Whyte name itself. Instead of going out on his shield, Whyte backed out as the biggest fight of his late career loomed. And Duke didn't mince words. He said Whyte dishonored everything he'd built, and everything his father once believed in. The torch wasn't passed. It was dropped and stomped on. McKenzie's message cut deep. Real fighters don't run. They face the fire. Whyte ran from it. And no excuse will change that.
It's just wrong, in my book. But you know what? I also think that, you know, what he's done, it's like a slap in the face for his dad.
Just when it couldn't get more brutal, Johnny Nelson stepped back in, and he didn't hold back. He called Dillian Whyte, the boy who cried wolf. Because this isn't the first time Whyte has played the "I'm done" card. Nelson speaks for every fan who once believed in him, and now feels burned. Every time the pressure mounts, Whyte disappears behind injury claims, retirement talk, or failed drug test rumors. And this time, Nelson's not buying it. Nobody is. The timing says it all. Just as Moses Itauma, a young, hungry lion, was ready to come for his head, Whyte vanished. Nelson sees through the smokescreen. This isn't a career decision. It's fear, plain and simple. The once feared heavyweight who shouted "anyone, anywhere" is now hiding behind press statements. Johnny's message is crystal clear: if you can't walk the walk, stop talking. Dillian Whyte has become all talk.
Do it again. We've seen it before, and I'm quite sure the common word's going to be the boy that cried wolf. I think.
Then Carl Frock picked up the mic, and his patience had clearly run out. Frock didn't mince words. This isn't retirement. It's a desperate attempt to stay relevant. He called Whyte's exit cheap, attention-seeking, and exhausting. Not the move of a warrior, but the act of someone addicted to headlines and terrified of irrelevance. Frock's frustration boiled over. He didn't see a fighter stepping down with dignity. He saw a man orchestrating drama for ego and leverage. A real chance to test himself against a surging powerhouse like Itauma? Whyte walked away. Frock didn't even try to hide the disgust. "I'm sick of it," he said. And when a battle-hardened veteran like Frock checks out on you, it's over. Whyte is no longer a contender. He's a walking circus act, one that's overstayed its welcome.
He's trying to get attention, he's trying to stay in the limelight and keep in the public eye, or is he trying to do it as a negotiating ploy, so when he's retired it's going to cost a bit more money to get him out of retirement? But either way, if I'm totally honest...
Even Spencer Oliver, usually the voice of reason, couldn't defend the move without disappointment bleeding through. Yes, he acknowledged Whyte's showmanship, his fire, his press conference energy, his ability to sell a fight. But where's that fire now? Instead of going out in glory, Whyte slipped away in disgrace. Oliver still called him a serious talent, but talent without courage? It means nothing. Walking away from the biggest fight of your career, against a teenage monster like Moses Itauma, isn't a retirement, it's a retreat. The man who once lit up arenas has now become the sport's greatest letdown. Oliver tried to be respectful, but even he couldn't mask the truth. Fans won't remember the hype, the personality, or the trash talk. They'll remember the end. No gloves. No heart. No fight. And that's what will define Dillian Whyte's legacy.
Big personality, and he sells fights so well, and he's a big character, and the press conferences, the build-up to fights, and what he delivers in the ring. The guy is a serious talent, and he'll be missed when he's retired. That is.
Colin Hart doesn't pull punches. He dives straight into the conversation everyone else is too nervous to start: the failed drug tests. Dillian Whyte hasn't just lost the respect of fans, he's lost his entire credibility. This isn't about gossip or speculation anymore. It's about a pattern. 1 failed test is bad luck. 2 is suspicious. But 3. That's a career hanging by the thread of denial. Hart stops short of full condemnation, but his implication is brutal. Whyte has become a stain on the sport. The damage isn't just to his name, but to boxing itself. The sport that gave him everything is now tainted by his shadow. What victories were earned? What were chemically enhanced? We may never know, but the cloud of doubt is permanent. And when you factor in the timing, pulling out just before facing a clean, hungry fighter like Moses Itauma, the writing is on the wall. Whyte didn't retire. He vanished, with smoke still trailing behind him. Hart leaves us with one undeniable truth: Dillian Whyte didn't exit the sport. He crumbled under it.
He's been failed 2 previous drug tests. The second one, he was exonerated. So let's not jump to conclusions. But it's not good for him, and it's not good for...
Dave Coldwell echoes what every honest boxing fan felt the moment the news hit: cheating bastard. Harsh. Maybe. But in this sport, honesty matters. Whyte, once seen as a gritty warrior who'd brawl with anyone, has now become a walking cautionary tale. Coldwell doesn't wait for final investigations or official statements. He knows the truth fans can feel. When a man with Whyte's record pulls out at the last second, with a history of test failures behind him, something stinks. It's not just a duck. It's a dirty one. Coldwell doesn't bother pretending there's any dignity left in Whyte's exit. Fans, promoters, and even opponents feel cheated. The trust is gone. The legacy is in pieces. Whether the full details ever come out or not doesn't even matter anymore. The verdict has already landed in the court of public opinion. And in that court, Whyte's reputation is beyond repair.
Oh, cheating bastard. You know, that's the initial reaction. Whether it's a first fail or a third fail, that's the initial reaction. Your gut reaction is, but then obviously we don't know what he's failed for yet, and we don't know what it is. But then when it's someone that's failed 3 times, or this is the third.
Now the tone shifts from disgrace to dominance. Tony Bellew doesn't waste time dragging Whyte. Instead, he shines a spotlight on the future, Moses Itauma. Bellew doesn't throw around compliments lightly. When he puts Moses in the same breath as Oleksandr Usyk, you sit up. He's not saying Moses is there yet, but the foundation, the skill, the footwork, the fearlessness is undeniable. Moses isn't hype. He's substance. Bellew admits the only possible concern is Moses' size, but quickly reminds everyone that Usyk shattered those same doubts. Moses has the ring IQ, the movement, the timing. And with Dillian Whyte out of the picture, Moses isn't just next up, he's officially in the spotlight. Tony's verdict is clear. The heavyweight division is changing. No more giants relying on brute force. It's a new era of smart, sharp killers. And Moses Itauma is leading the charge.
He's the next in line. I think he's the future of the heavyweight division. I think he's an outstanding talent. I think he's got a good team around him, Ben Davison and Lee Wiley is the brains that study everything. And they use what we call video analysis now in boxing. They're the one team.
Derek Chisora doesn't do filters, and thank God for that. His take is pure, unapologetic truth. Facing Moses Itauma, he says, isn't just a tough fight. It's career suicide if you're not ready. And Whyte? According to Chisora, he was never ready. When Derek says you've got better odds winning the lottery than beating Moses, it's not trash talk. It's a warning. Moses isn't just another up-and-comer, he's a polished threat. Trained by elites. Ice in his veins. Power in both hands. Chisora makes it plain, fighters like Moses come around once in a generation. And guys like Dillian, they either step up or get out of the way. That's exactly what happened. Deep down, Whyte saw the writing on the wall. The gap between a fading name and a rising force was just too wide. Chisora's final blow lands heavy. Moses Itauma doesn't just end fights. He ends careers. And Dillian Whyte, like so many before him, just couldn't face the truth.
24 years old, who's got his always faculties right, getting trained by one of the best trainers in the United Kingdom, and then mate, it's like you got more chance of winning the lottery than you beating that Moses Itauma.
Dillian Whyte's retirement wasn't just a headline, it was a humiliation that sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Here was a man who once screamed for war with the division's best, now folding under the pressure of facing a 19-year-old phenom, Moses Itauma. From Eddie Hearn's cutting sarcasm to Carl Frocka's sharp frustration, and from Johnny Nelson's comparisons to Duke McKenzie's raw disappointment, one truth echoed louder than any announcement: Whyte didn't retire. He ran, he ducked, delayed, and vanished behind a wall of excuses. Failed drug tests, shattered credibility, emotional spin, it all added up to one thing: retreat. And while Whyte scrambled to protect an unraveling legacy, Moses Itauma stayed silent. He didn't need to talk. His discipline, calm, and rising threat did all the speaking. As Tony Bellew said, Moses is the future. As Chisora brutally put it, you've got better odds of winning the lottery than beating him. When even veteran journalists like Colin Hart start linking your entire career to a pattern of failed tests, the game's up. This isn't just the fall of a fighter, it's the collapse of a carefully maintained facade. Whyte didn't just lose. He got exposed. And the timing? Right before he had to face the cleanest, hungriest rising star in the division. It was never retirement. It was retreat, laced with fear. Now, the spotlight shifts. The old guard has fallen. The new era has arrived. No more hype machines. No more media-manufactured drama. Just raw talent, real fights, and one name to remember: Moses Itauma. If you're ready to witness the rise of boxing's next world champion, now's the time to lock in. Subscribe, turn on those notifications, and follow every step of the takeover. This isn't just boxing anymore. This is the Moses era, and it's only just begun.